All right. Thank you guys so much for being back. I hope you're getting a lot from this. I I just get so like antsy for the next class because I feel like we're almost there. I just want to, and not that there's a there or a place we're going to get or any of that, but um, it really feels to me like what we're touching on is really big, and I see it land, and then I know this is how what minds do, right? Minds come in then and sort of explain it or weigh or find some exception. That's just for sure how it works. And I've received so many questions each night after each class, and on in our graduate community for the Little School Big Change on the forum, there are people talking about it. So I can kind of get a sense of what's landing and then what questions there are. So anyway, I'm just grateful that you're back, and that we've had this length of time together. And I want to go a little deeper today. So I'm going to spend more time with you guys today, and I want to walk through some more of this and look at how this looks maybe when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to feeling an urge for a habit, whatever you feel up against. But before we do that, and I'll also ask for a couple insights from the last few days, but I just want to share a few things that have been on my mind. So what we're talking about here, like what this whole thing is about, is that anything, what if anything that is arising, anything, happy, sad, painful, easy, all of it, thoughts, feelings, all of it, anything that's arising is there to be seen and felt. Now, I'm not saying it's there with a message for you and it has a reason, and I'm not even going that far. Okay. It's really simple. This is all life. Include this boundary that feels like it's your body and then life is out there. That is made up. That is a thought. There are no real boundaries of anything. This is all life. It's all energy, and it is all arising the only way it ever can, which is just the way it is. Right? It takes a mind to tell a story that things should be some other way. It is only ever arising exactly as it is, perfect in that sense, exactly as it is, to be seen and felt. And see, our mind won't let us do that. Our mind wants to say, no, I want to vet it first. I want to know, how's this one feel, and why should I see this, and what if I don't actually have to feel that? And there's all this vetting going on by the mind, all this protecting. Our mind's amazing. It's so smart, such an advanced machine, and it's just constantly trying to protect us from feeling. So all that vetting and door slamming and pushing away and all of that is happening, but even that is arising to be seen and felt, all of it. And if we can, you don't have to believe that, you don't have to trust it, but this is what I've seen change for so many people. And I think it's the deepest change there is. When I'm training my change coaches, like, this is where we are looking. If people cannot be afraid of what's arising in any circumstance, any situation, if we can just be with what is right here, right now, everything opens up. When we are not pushing and saying no, there are no words to describe. I know I've described it horribly, but that's because there's just no good words to describe what can open up and how freeing life is, no matter what is happening. When we're saying, okay, come on in, bring it on. I can be in this. Before the mind saying, I like it, I don't like it, it's right, it's wrong, and all of that, which the mind will always do when we just get to notice that too. That just gets to be that funny little judge up in your head, rather than the enemy that's ruining your life. It's just a mind. It's just doing what it does. So I want you to keep leaning into that as kind of the whole point here, that what if everything that's arising is perfectly designed for you. Now, again, tell your minds, we don't have to figure out why. We don't need to know all the meaning, But just what if it's all just is as it is, to be seen and felt, not to be pushed away? It really starts to simplify. So when we're talking about leaning in, what I'm not talking about is acceptance. And I love Tanya's share at the very end of yesterday. And if you had to drop off early, not early, but if you dropped off at the top of the hour on either of the days, listen back if you get a chance, because some great stuff happened. I went quite a bit over on both days, and some really great stuff happened. So toward the end of yesterday, I think it was one of the last questions yesterday. Tanya was sharing how around her body, how she's seen her mind will say, I hate my thighs, or I hate my body, or whatever. And she's kind of gotten into the habit of saying, and that's okay. Beautiful. Now it's not that she has to accept her body. See, it's a thought, whether we accept our body or hate our body. They're both just thoughts. It doesn't matter. We don't need to try to force them or change them. But when we can be in a place where we're like, oh, look at that, I hate my body thought just arose. Okay. You see how different that is from trying to get ourselves to love our body, which is trying to manufacture and pull in and then somehow believe a ton of extra thoughts and beliefs. Like that just is so much weight on us to try to get ourselves to think and believe something or accept something. We don't have to accept. Non-acceptance is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's all kinds of stuff in life that none of us accept, but we can still feel it. We can still lean into it. We can just lean into the non-acceptance of it. So it isn't about acceptance. It isn't about coming to terms with or loving or appreciating or any of that necessarily. It's before the agenda, before the judgment. When agenda and judgment arise, you just lean into that too. Okay, here's agenda, here's judgment. So there were a couple questions in particular that I saw today that I just briefly wanted to talk through, because I think they're both excellent in terms of being exactly what tends to be on people's minds. I just think they'll be really helpful. And they're very similar. So I'm just going to read this a little bit, and I'm going to make it a little cryptic just to protect identities and leave some of the details out. But one of the questions says, I feel it's true that my brain says no and avoids situations because it doesn't like to go into a feeling, right? I feel that maybe I do have the courage to say yes more often and be more curious. But when I do that, the brain starts telling stories about why am I feeling this way? So for example, if I'm sad and my brain starts telling me, so she's saying, if I feel sad and I lean into that sadness, my brain starts saying, oh, it's because you're a loser. You have no friends. You should have done this differently in your life. This relationship's horrible. And she says, I understand that I'm not going to find peace by going with these stories. But when I'm curious and I'm leaning in, they come fast and furious, and they totally do. So she says, I think that's why I say no. And absolutely, isn't that? I mean, I'm sure we can all relate to that so much. That's exactly what happens. That's why when there's a little discomfort, rather than listening to any of those horrible stories, we just go grab something to buy or eat or drink or distract with. That is the easier way out in that moment. And that's why we all have so many habits that are running rampant, because of this question. That she's 100% right. But here's the thing. When we can feel that little bit of discomfort and lean in, and then the stories start coming, we get to just lean into the stories too. What our mind says is not the truth. I mean, oh my God, if that wouldn't completely change the world, if we started to know that even 1% more than we know it now. And you all that would be on a call like this, especially on day 3, you know that. You know that what your mind says is not the truth. We know that this is talking and it's subjective and it's changing its mind all the time. And everybody has different stories. There is no objective truth in that, but there is a lot of depth at which we can see that. When we really, really, more and more come to see, oh, that's just a mind doing what it does, then you just lean into the feeling. Then you just lean into the stories too. You see what I mean? Then there's nothing to stop against. My mind tells those exact same stories. I know everyone's does. Like, there is no point you reach where your mind stops doing that. I don't think. I certainly have not reached it. And even if it does, it's like there's going to be stuff coming from a mind that you might not like forever, I'm pretty sure. But so what? You see the freedom in, like, okay, yeah, there's that old story again. I'm a loser and I should have done this differently in life. When you really see that as just one of your mind's stories, there's nothing in that that hooks you. There is complete freedom even in what is arising. That's what we're going for. So we're talking a little bit more, I think, here about feelings, and we're talking about how feelings are safe and these sensations are safe, but you can't separate thought and feeling. And as you've all noted the whole way through, okay, I think I'm kind of okay with the physical sometimes, or I'm okay with the energy in my body, but it's the thoughts that get me, or sometimes it feels the other way around. They're one and the same. It's just a different aspect of the same thing. And we just want to keep seeing the energy is safe, the sensations and the feelings are safe, and the thoughts are safe, and they're not true. The stories are not true. Then there was another one from a person who her mind is really racing to try to make a decision, and it involves keeping her children safe. And there's just a lot of thinking about it. So she says, I've tried leaning in and it's been helpful, but when it comes to looking at possible actions to take, my mind really spins. It wants more information, more research, et cetera, et cetera. It's like my mind is certain that there's only one route out of this, but then it puts up a roadblock and I'm stuck. And so again, you can kind of see the same thing in that. Like, when there's this panic or this anxiety of, like, oh no, things aren't okay, she's leaning into that a little bit. And then, but I love even just how it's written. But when it comes to looking at possible actions, then my mind's just spinning and I can't lean into that. Like, I need to solve for that, or that's different. And I just want us to get this feel for how nothing is different. Nothing is separate. Nothing is different from this. Thoughts and feelings and sensations and the physical stuff, and whether it's your sinus problem that you feel, or your gallbladder that you feel, or a painful memory, or a scary thought, all of that is human experience arising to be seen. And when we lean into it, it is not a scary monster anymore. But our mind has told us for so long, don't lean into that. So we stay out here pushing, and then it feels like we're pushing a monster away. And as we dip our toe in and lean in, we say, oh, I actually can feel this. I can be bombarded with these stories and feel this shame and all of that. And it's just different. It just changes. And I don't want to put a lot of words around it because I don't want to set up a lot of expectations for how it goes or what happens. But oftentimes it just dissolves. I mean, sometimes it is amazing where you're like, that is what I've been eating over or drinking over or stressing over. You lean in and you feel it and you just let it in and you say it out loud even. And you're just in it, and then it just dissolves. And then you're like, wait a minute, where is it? I was sitting down to lean into this shame or lean into this guilt or lean into this regret. And I leaned in and I said, come on in. And I swam around in it, and then I couldn't find it. Where'd it go? That is very often how it goes. And sometimes not. This is not, again, leaning in is not about a way to get it over with quickly. But that's a common side effect. And when it isn't, that's okay too, because you're leaning in and saying, okay, come on, I'm checking you out. I'm just curious. I don't have judgment or agenda. I'm not trying to make a decision from this. I'm just curious. So for this person, she's trying to make a decision. But again, leaning in isn't a decision. It's not about what decision you make. It's about simply being with. It's so hard because our mind can't get this. Like I said on day one, our mind lives in the past or future. It does not know the present. And what we're talking about is so present, so intimate. It's just like now and now and now that your mind will never grasp this. So you just want to keep getting a feel for it. That's it. You just kind of get this feel for like, okay, yes, my mind is going to hate it and argue. And there's something that kind of just maybe resonates in this or feels right about just being with what's showing up. maybe you can kind of start to see how this is the end, like a habit, for example, or an addiction or anxiety. They can't survive in this environment. How could they? I mean, anxiety really, like the kind of the definition of anxiety is a fear of fear. So when you stop fearing your fear, there's nothing pushing. It doesn't mean fear never shows up. It doesn't mean heart palpitations don't show up. Anything can show up. But when it's like, okay, here's what's showing up, and I'm leaning into that, you don't walk away from that saying, I have an anxiety problem. You just you just in this leaning in and feeling what's there. Same with a habit. I mean, think about habits. There's a feeling that arises, and then there's a reaching for something so that we cannot feel that feeling. That's not all happening consciously, but that's exactly what's happening with any habit, anytime. When it starts, as it's being maintained forever, that's what's going on, is we don't want to feel something, so we just do something else instead. Well, pretty obvious, right? Like when we're okay with feeling, where's the coping? Like it has no purpose. You're smoking or you're drinking or you're buying or whatever. It has no purpose. It doesn't even make sense. It has no payoff anymore when we aren't trying to push something down, when we're leaning in. And now, again, I'm not saying that you're going to lean in tonight and experiment with this and you're going to wake up tomorrow and your habit's going to be gone. Life is going to give you a lot of opportunities. Amazingly, thankfully, life gives us a ton of stuff to feel. And then we just keep feeling it. And we don't have to say, oh, well, I got to feel this stuff, but not over here. You just keep feeling what's arising as if it's arising perfectly for you to see and feel, because it is. Let me go to a couple. Well, let's just open it up. You can share insights. I'd love to hear if there is anything big that anyone is seeing that they want to share, but also questions. And it can be a question or it can be we can walk through, kind of like we did a little bit yesterday, walk through a feeling that feels like it's not feelable, anything. Helene.
Yeah, I have a question, and I will try to formulate it. I've been back and forth from non-duality to going into therapy, and having the thought that things needs to be healed. The inner child, need to go into the unresolved memories and stories. And how is this? Yeah, can you say something about that? Yeah, I don't know if I get to say
like
it.
Yeah, like, are you asking if you have to do those things, or if?
Yeah, because in my mind, I think there is so much trauma that I think I have to, in a way, heal. Because the inner pain is so much. And yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how this is. Your thoughts about that?
So I don't know. And I don't know for any one person. I think for each of us, there are different things that are going to feel right and make sense. But I think when any of us are, so hard to articulate, but when we're simply in life and we're listening, and we're not listening for anything. We're just really, another way of talking about leaning in is kind of listening. We're just here. We're like, anything's okay. I'll do what I need to do. I'll do what makes sense to do, but I'm not in my head thinking I know what I need to do. So because there's some books on things, or somebody else said that's what you have to do, or we get scared and we think, oh, I must need the biggest, support there is, like that can kind of feel a little different, and that can really come from a head. And then we start running around doing a bunch of stuff. But what I want you to look toward is simply like just being in a place where anything that arises is okay. whether your mind calls it old trauma responses or anything, you can lean into those and you can see for yourself their safety, and that they aren't as your mind tells you they are, that they are okay to lean into and feel and swim around in and explore, and that they move and change. And so play with that and lean into things, and just we kind of just want to stay in a way where we're open to anything that arises. And I have no doubt that as you're doing that, you will take next steps that make sense for you. Those might be the work you're doing. They might not. No one can really know that but you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Sometimes I think that's the hardest answer to hear. So thanks for hearing it. Of course, and I'm not putting this on you. I'm just saying humans in general, we just want somebody to tell us what the right answer is and what we should do. And yet the answer is always that there is no universal right answer, but that we are life itself. We are wisdom itself. And we're constantly being shown when we're just open to what's showing up for us. But of course, our head gets scared and just wants to pick a route and take that route, so it's so much closer to home. And I know the more you feel, the more you're just going to be guided in a way that's perfect for you.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Michael.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Just these last few days, and even before that, but it's become more acute since you've done this. So this is wonderful. But I've noticed how my mind gets attached to thinking I'm open to wanting to feel whatever arises, and has very strong opinions about what those feelings are that need to be felt. And I've just noticed especially the last week or so, that noticing that there are actually feelings that I do say no. So it's almost like a greater awareness, like, oh, but I'm saying no to boredom. I'm saying no to frustration. I'm saying no to kind of almost my mind might call mundane feelings, where I, bring on the sadness or bring on the grief or bring on this, but boredom, no. And so it's just interesting to see like how my mind is taking this and saying, these are the feelings that you need to feel.
That's so interesting and so good to see.
Yeah. And just to see like, oh no, there's so much I'm still saying no to, and to, I don't know. I just feel like my awareness has opened up around that. So I just wanted to share that.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I think that's really common. And I think it's a great exercise for all of us to just notice what's arising and practice leaning into that, no matter what it is. Because I think you're so not alone in that. We're even when it's joy and excitement, sometimes our mind shuts down those. It really does, like pretty often, really. So anything's okay. And it could be the thing, like our mind, will say like, oh, sometimes it's more of a thing of like, oh, I'm going to really sit with this grief and I'm going to get it out of here, but boredom, I don't have time for you. You're not a big deal, but sometimes the boredom is what gets us more than anything, or the minor frustrations or whatever. So yeah, that's cool to see. It's all the same. Cool. Thanks. Lisa.
Yeah. Hi. So, I was thinking, I'm very into prayer, and I'm thinking this sounds a lot like prayer for me. Like this is an opportunity, like, as an Orthodox Jew, I try and pray 3 times a day, and it really fits in with leaning in, whatever's going on, just like, and I don't need an answer. I just need to know that God is listening.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I just need to cry. Like, just now I had a very rough day today. Really, like I had like 6, 7 appointments, all canceled. When they say canceled, I mean on the moment, not like an hour before or 10 minutes before, at the moment. Like I was doing something and I changed everything around, and then everybody just kept canceling on me. It was just like a crazy day, and it was a really hard day, really, really hard day. But I was just praying, and I was like crying and crying and crying, because I know God hears. I don't need an answer. I'm not looking for an answer. I just need to get out my feelings and my thoughts, and I just need to turn somewhere, and I only know God understands it. So for me, I feel like as you were talking, it was just like it's just prayer. I think it's prayer. That's what
I
you
love
think.
that. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a great way because that's something you're familiar with. You already, you know, you can tap right into that when you can, and it feels, you feel the benefits of that. And it's like your way in, you know, that's perfect for you. Again, maybe not for someone else, but for you, that's like just the path of least resistance. And that's awesome. Cool. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. Molly.
Hi. Um, yeah, this course has been just so transformative. I mean, really, uh, the first day, I think the first written thing you put up on the screen, and I was just, it hit me. I have been such a head case in terms of like studying, you know,
Yeah.
teachers. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've been in the principals for 30 years. I've studied with everyone. It's just like, because, and it's very fear based because I want to get it right, you know, not just for myself. So to help with depression and anxiety, but to help other people. But I, you know, got to the point where all these voices are in my head of all these teachers. And it's just like, get out of my head, you know?
Yeah.
And I was trying to, you know, I have spent years and years trying to get the feeling thing right. Like sitting with my feelings, but it feels like often wallowing and just kind of stuck. Also, though, there have been some brilliant instances, and it feels like not me doing it, no doing, but this immediacy of having the feeling just erupt from a deep place that is so beyond me, you know.
Yeah.
And that the shift is just vast and immediate. And I feel like, yeah, okay, so that's maybe more my style. I guess my question is, it's sort of a big question, but you know, I'm very, very much an empath in that I feel so much stuff, which can, from my environment, from other people, and has become debilitating at times, specifically with sudden severe physical pain, or, you know, conditions that just suddenly I have something scary. And what has helped is for me to ask whoever I'm in proximity, you know, it's like I was accompanying for ballet, and I asked the teacher, or I said, you know, my left hand is all numb. I'm not giving you a baseline. He said, I have that all the time. I've had 3 surgeries. And I was like, oh, I'm picking up your thing. And it's dawned on me that it's helpful for me to realize it's not my stuff, you know, or to even sort of inquire, oh, I'm getting it from over here. And so in a way, it's been progress for me to dismiss things, you know, kind of like, that's not, you know, I don't need to spend any time on that.
Yeah.
And so, but that's in a way, as I'm talking about it, I feel like it's a mental strategy. But the feeling, you know, the feeling of the sudden pain is a part of it. And maybe I don't really need to know where it's coming from, or whether it's mine or not mine, that it's just experience moving through. And maybe that would be a little more efficient.
Well, what's interesting is, in a really big sense, none of it's ever our stuff.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
we're all life. So what hurts is when you feel like a separate Molly, separate from everything, and then something is happening to you.
Exactly.
Whether it's your stuff or even someone else's stuff. It's like, oh, it's his, you know, but I fully makes sense why, when you can kind of see, oh, not my stuff. I just felt like I took a deep breath when you said that, because,
Yeah.
and really, in the biggest sense, even when it's someone saying, I hate you, Molly, you did this and that to me, that's not your stuff either. Nothing is our stuff, because only a mind turns everything into ours. And that's when we suffer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for much of my life, my solution is, you know, if I could find a lead room to keep myself in, so that I'm not getting impacted by all this stuff. And earlier in this call, you said, that we're sort of, I don't know what you said, but it was like you're swimming in all of life. And we're not bound. We're not, the idea of being separate is just an illusion. And just like how much effort I've been putting into protecting myself, protecting because of some mental idea that there's something to protect,
Yes.
or that anything is going to hurt me, even really heavy feelings.
Yes.
Like, it's really mind-blowing to kind of feel into them and feel really how benign, and not even benign, it's just sort of neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When there's not the story about it, even physical pain, even emotional pain, without that, this is happening to me. It just it's just a different fluctuation of energy in a sense, And I mean, we're human, so we're going to have the me identity when it's there, and we're going to feel it. But man, I think what you're saying is really big. It's like somewhere along a spectrum. Sometimes we feel very tight and me and protective and all of that. And that's very painful, hard way to live. And then sometimes we're further along the spectrum where, that's why I love the word swimming. I think of this as swimming because it's all just so fluid. It's like, and now this is here over here. Oh, and now over here, it's a different feeling. And there's not the tight me, you, this, good, bad, all of that fades away a little bit.
Yeah. Not too long ago, my dad died suddenly, and he had been fine, and it was a heart attack, and it was such a shock. And so my grief was very intense, but I felt like it gave me a window into this very natural healing that big mind does, because I was flooded with just memories, some of them really traumatic, some of them so beautiful. And it was very potent. There was nothing I could do to stop it. And I realized that wherever that's coming from, this just constant rushing through my system of all this stuff, it was so powerful. I had to get out of the way and just let it rip, because it was going to anyway.
Yeah.
And I felt the intelligence of, and the beauty and the kindness of that, even the really painful stuff. I wasn't digging for it. It was just, and it was rigorous, and yet it was so cleansing. And I realized, like, I don't have to do anything. It's built in, that natural process. Oh, that's not even a word, but it knows what it's doing.
Yes, it does. And sometimes when it's huge like that, it's easier. Like you said, we just it's so clear. It's like, okay, this has nothing to do with me. This is just life doing it. Kind of like what Michael said. And then when it's big or it just, sometimes it feels like that. And then other times, if it's just a numb hand or a little boredom or whatever, our mind gets so involved, but so it's all the same.
Yeah. And I really, my mind is so blown by this course. In my writing group last night, I was writing about it, and I could feel the relief. I mean, and even my writing companions could feel the relief in what I've, like, all these years of working it so hard. I'm like, and realizing how deeply I have fondness for just the ickiest stuff, just the stuff that I've always pushed away. Secretly, I love it. and so I was like, there's this whole field of the world out there, and instead of picking and choosing, like that, don't like that, I'm like, sure, I still have preferences, but I'm so incredibly fond of just awful things, because it's all it feels like it's all part of the oneness, and it's all kind of beautiful. So anyway, thank you for this. It's just major course. Love it.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
All right.
Martin.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Martin. How are you?
Very nice. Very nice to have the chance to speak to you again.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up, with the principles and what you've been talking about. And thank you very much for what you've been doing over the last 3 days. But as you're talking about, thinking and it's just thought, which is one of the basic elements, but I guess I haven't totally grasped it, I think. I've been helped hugely in general in managing, my thoughts and how they let me affect me or don't affect me. But it's the idea of saying, well, it's just thought, it's not true. Well, I suppose objectively you could say, well, it might not be 100% true. If something is not 100% true, it's not true, it's a lie. But are there shades of truth? I mean, are there elements of truth? I don't think you could just say, well, all of my thinking is total nonsense. I've struggled with this. Can you clarify that a little?
I don't think you have to say it's all total nonsense or that it's all true. Does that mean there are shades of truth? Again, objectively, really, I don't know, because who's the keeper of truth? Like, who determines what's truth? I think to an individual, to a mind, there are shades of truth. But again, that's to a mind, and there are 8 billion of them, and they would all see different shades of truth. So how true is that? So, it's like in our experience, of course, it feels like some is clearly nonsense, some is solid fact for sure. And then there's all kinds of shades of truth. But then you have 8 billion minds making their own judgments on all of that too. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I think what's been helpful for me in that is like, well, I sure as heck don't know. What feels like a solid shade of truth to me is going to not feel that way tomorrow or feels totally different to someone else. So it doesn't really make sense for me to put that much stock in it, especially when it's painful.
Right. Right, exactly. I think what I learned is basically, well, all right, maybe there's something in it, but forget it. Don't worry about it.
Pretty much. That's perfect. I love that. Yeah.
Just forget it. Don't worry. And don't think about it.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing, because I've been out of touch, I think you've been talking a lot, and the previous speaker mentioned it, this idea of being separate is an illusion. I struggle with that a little bit too, I think. And I can understand that we as human beings, we're all, under the effect of or subject to the 3 principles. That's universal. So in that sense, we are all one. However, I think I think when you say separate, or when you say there is no separation, that's a little misleading because each of us is also unique in our individual ways.
Yeah.
So, we're all one. Well, yes, we are all subject to these principles, but on the other hand, we are all totally distinct. So there is no separation, doesn't seem to be totally true.
Well, I think it's just like your other question. We don't need to camp out at either end. I think everything in life is a paradox. And I think at different levels of seeing things, when we're in the head of the psychological being, for sure, we all look separate and we're very unique. And that looks as true as can be. And as you keep zooming out and backing up and seeing things in a bigger picture, I think it's just as true that we're not separate at all, that only a thought separates us and gives these traits to us and all this uniqueness. And it's a total paradox. How can both be true? I don't know, but that just seems like, again, to me, it's, I don't really struggle to try to figure that out because I think it's just way beyond the mind to figure out. And in that, there's maybe some freedom in like, hey, we're not gonna figure this out. No one knows for sure. So it's all of it and none of it, maybe.
Saying, well, the big takeaway is that we are all one, so we're all in this together, as it were. And it's not, and everyone's sort of struggling in their own ways, perhaps.
That looks like the case to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Fine. Thank you very much, Amy.
All right. Thanks, Martin.
Bye-bye.
Bye. If anyone has, I'm going to go to the hands that are up, but if anyone has, is really struggling to feel? Like all of your questions are excellent, but I just want to make sure that while we're kind of in the time that we look at this, if it's like, I don't know, if there's a question about how do I do that, or I don't think I know how to do that, or I'm not doing it right. If you have your hand up, maybe just throw your name in the chat so I can go to you next. Otherwise I'll just move around. Okay, Sherry, did you have your hand up? I don't know if you did, but we'll go to you and then I'll go to some of the hands that are up. Oh, unless Sherry, you were just saying you wanted to hear about that. Maybe you just want to hear about it. Jackie, do you want to chat about that? Can you unmute yourself, Jackie?
I'm back. Okay, how's that?
Oh, Sherry. Okay.
Yeah, no,
And
I
then-
was thinking with everybody talking about, oh, I like to feel this, I don't like to feel that. I can't seem to determine how to go about that. Like how to, when you say lean into it, I start leaning into it. And like this morning I got nauseated. So I was like, oh God, I don't like this feeling. Oh, this sucks. And then I run to something else, so
yeah.
how do you stay in it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first, you don't have to stay in it. I mean, you might come in and out like you did, like, oh, this, I don't think I'm ready for this right now. And that's fine. And you can just revisit it if you want to. So you don't have to stay in it. But can you walk me through a little bit more? So you were feeling something. What were you feeling initially? Did it feel like nausea, or did it feel like some emotional something that you wanted to feel?
Well, I started thinking about it and going, okay, what is this? And so I said, okay, it's nausea. Where's it coming from? I had no idea. And I haven't been nauseous. I'm not a nauseous person most of the time. So I thought, well, this is really strange. Where is it coming from? And I don't know if it's that there's so many things, not so many things. There's a couple things going on. And knowing that I'm going to come to the class, and, I'm thinking, okay, well, am I doing this right? And then I think, well, maybe that made me nauseous.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there going, I got to feel this. I got to feel that. No, I don't.
Yeah.
So I laughed about it, and then it went away. But I just thought, wow, that was kind of interesting, because I couldn't put the pin on specifically what it was, other than I was thinking about the class this afternoon, and all of a sudden I got nauseous. And it was like, well, that's weird. I'm not nauseous about the class. I'm excited about that. So where's this coming from? And then I started to spin because I couldn't figure out where it was coming from.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So no, that's helpful. So first, we never have to know where it's coming from, or even do know. Sometimes your mind might go there and then it'll give an answer to its own question, because that's what minds like to do. Like, it wants to figure everything out. There's nothing in it to figure out. So you certainly don't have to know where it's coming from. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to have a reason. So in that, in what you're describing, I mean, I think what I might do is just lean into that. You feel the nausea, your mind might still be asking all those questions, and that's totally fine. You can notice that that's happening. But I think, maybe that's a good time when your head starts spinning, trying to find everything out. It's a good time to just go more into the sensation. Like breathe and just say, okay, I'm feeling this. It's like waves of energy are moving through me. Notice where you feel them. Notice, is it in your stomach? Is it moving around? Is it hot? Is it cold? Like, kind of at that level, I think helps distract us a little, or helps our mind quiet a little bit, where our attention's not on it anyway. And you're just really there in the moment.
Okay. I just thought it was the strangest thing, because I couldn't, as you said, my brain wanted to know, what the heck is this?
Yes.
Especially because I wasn't really thinking about anything specific that was uncomfortable or, anything.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there, and then all of a sudden I go, oh, my stomach's not feeling good.
Yeah. And, sometimes two things on that. Like, sometimes I think those feelings are there. Like, I do that. I feel that often, or notice that often. Especially if I'm kind of busy and things are going on, I'm running around, whatever. And then I kind of just check in, I notice a feeling of maybe tension or nausea or something like that. And I actually just think that's feedback that's happening in our bodies a lot, but we don't ever just like go in and check it out. You know, we'd stay distracted in our mind, and you could feel borderline nauseous for half the day and never even notice it if your mind is racing and you're kind of in your head. Everybody. So I think that's one thing, that maybe that's kind of what's going on. We check in and we've noticed something there that's probably there a lot. What was the other thing I was going to say to what you said? I can't remember the other part. There was something else. Maybe it'll come up. But yeah, I mean, I think just that little checking in. Oh, just all the reasons and all the why. And I'm not thinking anything. That's a big thing. People say, well, I wasn't thinking anything to feel this way. Well, again, that when we say that, when it looks that way, it's kind of making the assumption that we know what's going on. Like we're aware of all of this, and it's ridiculous. We're not aware of a teeny, tiny fraction of the thoughts and the energy and all that that's running through us. Not even a tiny bit, really. So it's not going to make sense. It's not going to be logical, and your mind will hate that. And your mind will say, well, then forget it. I'm just not going to do this. And that's fine. That's what it's been doing our whole lives. But if we can set aside trying to make sense of it, you're going to discover a lot.
Yeah. I was just surprised because, as I say, I never feel that. But as you said, I probably do, but I don't check in on it and go, oh, how's my stomach feeling today?
Yeah.
But thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's go to Jackie.
So I think I figured this out, although I haven't figured out how to use the camera yet.
Okay, that's all right. We can hear you at least.
Okay, I wanted to let you know that yesterday I did the, if I had a thought or a feeling, a sensation, I constantly did the yes thing. And I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And right down to the point where in the afternoon, my dog went, running out to greet Birdie when he came home. And I felt such joy. I said yes to the joy. So I was really into the yes thing. And I had a good day, and I slept amazing last night. And this morning I woke up with raging anxiety energy. And my day I cannot get out of my head. And I have tried so hard to do the yes thing, to sit. And the last person that you talked to, trying so hard, and I cannot. I'm closed. I just shut down. And I would just like, if you could, maybe walk us through something that could help with that, just, to relieve a little bit of it, or.
Yeah. So what I want to tell you is it's totally okay. Like sometimes that's how it is. Now, it's very common too that like yesterday you had a great day and you were saying yes and feeling hopeful. It's extremely common that your mind doesn't like that. And I never want to paint the mind as an enemy or like a bad guy, because it's really not. But it's like, whoa, what was that about? like we weren't in charge for a little bit of time yesterday, and we like being in charge. So we're coming back, and then of course there's sometimes more thinking like, yesterday was so great, and why do I feel this way today? Which just fuels everything. And I know that myself very well, and that you're not alone in that at all. So it's not uncommon that a good day kind of, is followed by a harder day sometimes. And in that, see, this is all so brand new. So I would really just see that, okay, if you can't feel your way into it today, it's okay. It's kind of, we don't want to push it too much. Maybe it's just, you just kind of have to be in it. But what I want you to know about today, however that feels now, don't put pressure on yourself to try to say yes or to try to feel it more. But just know that even if you feel like you can't, you can just notice the resistance. You can just notice the closeness and just let that be here. Like, okay, my mind says, no, we're not doing this today. Fine. I see you, mind. Thank you. Thanks for trying to protect me. So even the closeness can get a thank you, can get a yes, can get a I see you. I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, what my mind is telling me is that closeness is dangerous and something bad's going to happen. It, I don't know. It's just this crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if that just isn't true?
I know it's not true. That's what's killing me. My awareness, I am so aware these days of so many things. That's what kills me about this struggle. My awareness, I know that's not going to happen. And my mind just steps in and just closes me.
Yeah.
And I get stuck in it.
You can't be stuck. I know it feels like you're stuck in it, but look,
Yeah.
you felt stuck a lot leading up to now. And then yesterday you were saying yes and felt some new stuff. Like there's no real stuckness. That's also kind of the mind just saying, oh, you might as well hang out here with me because you're stuck. Just everything is so fluid and everything is so safe. And you know that it's not true. And so that's just something to kind of lean into, like, oh, look at this story. And that's the thing too. I think those stories, like it's not safe. And what are you doing? And you know better. And you're aware and you shouldn't be doing this, all of that. Like we can just kind of lean in a little bit to that too. Like, okay, I hear the stories, but anything that's showing up is truly okay. And
Okay.
yeah, just keep,
just hearing you say that and listening to the chat people gives me courage. My mind is telling me wrong, but I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
You're doing amazing, really. And for everyone, I know it's so tempting, especially when you felt kind of good and free yesterday a little bit. We want to push it, we kind of just want to, but just be loving and patient with yourself and really appreciate that resistance, because it is just a scared mind that honestly thinks it's helping you. So that I think is so powerful to say, okay, mind, I see you. I see that you're scared. I see that you want to shut down, and thank you for doing that for me. But we're going to just hang out here. There's no enemy in any of this. So I think the more you can bring that, the better.
Okay. Thank you for the help.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jackie. Let me go. I just want to go to, I think 1 or 2 slides that I had for today to just touch on something just for people who are going to need to drop off as we get to the top of the hour. And then if there are still some hands up, I'm happy to go over like we've been and take a few questions. But I do want to just touch on this and just to kind of leave you with some of this, if this is kind of near the end of the road. So I want to just mention that, the old, not that this is bad or old or outdated or wrong in any way, but kind of what for me anyway, it was like the old self-help way is you're feeling insecure in some way, or you're feeling some pain or discomfort, and your mind, and maybe you get right on board with this, and this looks like the good thing to do, is to try to talk yourself up. Like, oh, you're fine. Why do you feel this way? That's just thought, or it'll move, or, there's no reason to feel this way. And there's all that talking that happens, all that trying to kind of cheer up, all that cheerleader stuff sometimes shows up. And it's okay when that happens. Early on in like learning about this, I was kind of taught to do that. And I don't think there's an alternative that I'm going to talk to. We don't need to cheer or lead ourselves up, but it's okay if your mind goes there. Or you're feeling worried and you try to think of all the ways that it's going to be okay. You're upset about something or you're worried and you just try to talk yourself out of it. Now, again, that's fine. I noticed this morning, thinking about sharing this with you, I noticed my mind doing that this morning. So it doesn't just stop. It might do that at times. No big deal. But I want to paint a picture or open this door anyway for the opposite, because it is something that I have found incredibly powerful. And that is that when you feel like you have the ability, or when you can go there, like rather than talking ourselves out of how we feel and cheering ourselves up, leaning, as we've been saying, right into what's there and letting it kind of power you up like that Mario mushroom. So sometimes really going into like, what if this is true? What if this bad thing does happen? What's going to happen? Or, if I just heard someone the other day saying, like, my big fear is that I'm awkward and people don't like me. And she was holding this, like you could feel the tension, like, oh my God, that can't be true. I can't be awkward and people can't not like me. And there's so much, like someone mentioned earlier, so much to protect. When we're afraid of being awkward and people not liking us, oh my gosh, your life is tiny. You're avoiding people. You're reading the looks on everybody's faces. You're like, what are they thinking? How is it going? You just, before long, you just don't even go anywhere because you just become afraid of people. I mean, it just spirals when we have to protect that. But what if you had this concern? I'm awkward and people don't like me. And we said, yeah, I'm sure that's true. I mean, come on, we're all awkward at times, and there are people that don't like us. that is the truth of life. Every single one of us experiences almost every quality you can imagine. Every one of us has been awkward. Every one of us has been disliked or even hated by someone. When we can kind of say, yeah, I can feel that. I don't love it. I wish it wasn't true, but I want to lean into even that. So I told you a lot of my emotional stuff lately is around real estate. And we're stumbling our way through this and on a very steep learning curve. And I feel like I'm leaning on a lot of people, and I haven't felt that way in a while because I've been in my career for a while. It's kind of easy at this point. So this is like a brand new venture where I'm messing up and asking for help and asking for special treatment and for people to teach me things. And there's a lot in that. And I was feeling just the physical effects of it the other day. And then I was talking with someone, and I just kind of jokingly, it was a very light conversation. I was feeling kind of open-hearted and just easy and light about things. And I said to them, like, oh yeah, our people, our lenders and agents and all these people, like, we're the difficult ones. I think we're the difficult people to work with. And I kind of laughed, and I recognized how much that released just to say that, like, yeah. And then I was all excited about it. Went and told, I'm like, you know what? Like, we drive these people crazy. Like, we're the hard ones to work with. No, they don't want to put up with this. And we could like laugh about it. And I felt like just the weight release. So it's not like I've been walking around consciously holding on to that, thinking it, but sometimes to say this stuff that we're afraid to be true, that we're afraid to say, and to feel it and to say, you know what? Hey, maybe they are all talking behind our backs, saying, oh, don't work with those people. Like they're a handful. You know what? If that's the case, I can feel that. It's going to hurt for as long as it hurts, or I'm going to feel whatever we feel, and stories are going to come up and worries are going to come up. And it just feels so good to move into that rather than push it and try to protect from it. So I just want to throw that out. It feels a little advanced. It's not advanced, but, it's really like diving into kind of the hardest things. But oh my gosh, when you feel ready, there is so much power in that. So I just kind of summed it up here, like being okay in any feeling equals, if this isn't obvious, being okay in any circumstance, because the only reason we would ever avoid a person or a circumstance or anything in life is because of the feeling we don't want to feel. There's nothing wrong with any circumstance. They're 100% neutral. We just say, I don't want this thing to happen because we don't want to feel something. So think about this, like when we know we can feel anything that's arising, your life gets really big. You just do things and try things and fail and succeed, and you feel all that. And it's just amazing what opens up. And then this quote that I just love from J. Krishnamurti, here's my secret. I don't mind what happens. It's a classic quote, but I mean, think about that. I don't mind what happens. There is no bigger freedom than I don't mind what happens. Not that I don't have my preferences, but I'm okay in anything that shows up. Yeah, Jackie says, when I go to the dentist, I tell them their problem patient is there. I know. I mean, that's the thing, right? But I mean, it probably is a release for you to just even say that and name it and claim it rather than like, oh no, and then I should be this way. And yeah. Okay. So all right. So let me go to some more questions. And again, I just, if people do have to drop off, I'll stay on for a little bit and we can chat more about this. But just in case you do have to leave, I just want to really thank you again for being here and letting me share this. And I feel like we just are starting to scratch the surface of what's possible here. I hope that just something is opened up of like, wow, this is simple and this is possible and we can live a life. And like I always say, I mean, if we live 1%, 5% more open to feeling, your life is going to change. Like you are going to feel the effects of that. For me, I always put it in terms of an open heart. Sometimes it just feels tight and sometimes it just feels open. And when my heart is open 2% more, everything looks different. Everything looks different. Deals can fall apart, good things happen, bad things happen. It's all seen through an open heart and it's so different. And that's what this is really about. So thank you for being here. And if you do want more, you know where to find me. I hope we're going to send all the videos. You can watch all of these replays back. There's an amazing program and community that you could be part of where we're doing this with each other all the time. I have a coach training where we're teaching each other. I'm teaching you how to do this with other people and with yourself if you want to do this in a much bigger way. So you'll see all kinds of information about that, but just know that there's a lot more. Like we're just scratching the surface, and can't think of a better thing to devote our energy to because it just changes so much. Okay. Let me see the hands. Rosanna. You have to unmute yourself if you can.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my situation is I think about a lot of the problems in the middle of the night. It wakes me up in times of stress, in times of worry, in times where I have health issues, diagnosis, prognosis, and my loved ones have health issues or anything that is worrying me. So I'm one to wake up in the middle of the night and so all those thoughts come to me. It's not one, it's not 2 or 3, it's 10, right? Or more. And they are all there. Some I can say, okay, there's nothing to do about this one. I have no control over this one. Others, there are 4 or 5 things I could do. So I start thinking about those things. And then I start saying to myself, okay, what's the feelings? And I lean into the feelings, and the feelings are of sadness and fear of the future, of what could happen, of what can happen. And it's really, really, really weakening for me. And the first thing, well, not the first thing, after an hour or 2 hours of being there without sleep, and I have to get up at a certain time to work, I start to feel hungry. And then I find myself going to the kitchen to get a snack and, prepare some tea, have some ordeal or some ritual, I would say, have some ritual to distract from those feelings that I've been feeling for an hour or 2 that cannot go any longer, or I won't be able to get up tomorrow. So I end up giving in to having, a walk in the house and coming up with some tea and whatever, crackers or something to distract what's going on. And it really helps. It is like a wonderful remedy. So I end up in that loop all the time, and I don't know what else to do. I am leaning on the feelings, and still they don't pass. How many hours am I going to be there? 1, 2, 3?
Here's what I suggest. I'm curious, and I want you to just be curious about this. When you say you're leaning into the feelings and it feels like all this sadness, and then it's weakening you, and you're getting a lot of value in distracting from it. I'm curious what that is, and you don't have to answer me. I just want you to be curious about it too. When you're leaning into the feelings, I wonder if that's leaning in with a yes and a curiosity and a noticing just where it is in your body and a knowing that thoughts aren't true, or whether it's leaning into the scary, sad stories. Because what you're describing sounds like it's the latter. If it's weakening you and then it's like, this is horrible, and now you're milking it, and now you have to distract, that would make perfect sense if you're like, oh yeah, this horrible thing might happen, and if that's how it's going. But that's not really what we want to look at. We're looking at before the story, like the pieces of it, the essential energy of it, noticing how it feels, like breathing into it, seeing the stories as stories. That's a very different thing.
Okay, and try to continue to feel it and say yes to that feeling, right?
Yes. Yes. But not yes to the story that says something bad's going to happen, and not no to the story. I mean, it's just a story, but it's not about believing something or going into, or being like, oh, I'm so sad. It's just, you want to go in curious. That is a key here. Curious and dumb. In my courses, I talk a lot about being dumb. And I know it's not a word that we think is a good thing in most of the world. But when we're dumb about the feeling, I just mean, like, we're just exploring it. Like, you're just a scientist exploring this. Like, what is this? There's some energy, there's some pictures, there's a story of what might happen. It's very, very different than, oh no, this horrible thing could happen to someone I love. It's like just bare, like, curiosity.
Yeah, sounds like I have been thinking those thoughts and feeling those feelings for so long. There is no more curiosity because I know where
Yes,
which
exactly.
ones they are. So
Exactly.
how can I go with curiosity if I know I've been feeling them for so long? How to cut that loop,
Well, you just realize that you don't know, and you just be curious. You think your mind tells you that it knows, and it knows how it's going to go and what's going to happen. And your mind, it's just what a mind does. A mind thinks it knows everything, but you know better. You're the one here, open to something new. So you can see, okay, my mind thinks it knows everything, but let me just pretend like I've never felt this before and experiment with it.
So I could and should lean in on it in the middle of the night, even because many times I say, no, I don't want to think about this. Let me go get my distraction. And then I go back to bed, and, in less than half an hour, I'm done and I'm sleeping, and next day I can work and all that. But if I
That's fine.
to,
Yeah, no, you don't have to make a big production out of this. And it is totally okay when that's what feels right.
but it then becomes it's been a habit of mine to have that meal, and it's not a good habit to have meals in the middle of the night, and that doesn't bring me any health.
Yeah, but getting hard on yourself about that and saying, I'm not going to do this anymore isn't going to help either. That's only going to make you want it more. So you just do the best you can. That's all we're doing. I just want you to experiment with it. Try it tonight and email me tomorrow and let me know. Just experiment with being really dumb and really curious, and just noticing the energy, noticing the stories. And when you've had enough, you've had enough. And if that means you go get a snack and go to sleep, fine. But you just experiment.
Okay. Thank you, Amy.
All right. Thank you. Kathleen.
Well, I wanted to tell you, Amy, that I had this realization yesterday, and it was about after the class we had. I write this desire frame. I write like a fear and desire frame every morning to see like what's here, and a sensation frame too. But anyway, I realized like my desire frame was about, like, I desired something, whether I said like that everything will be okay if this doesn't work, that I'll be okay no matter what happens. But it was really a desire, like I didn't want to feel, and it's like a desire not to feel the uncomfortable feelings I was having. But that was just something I noticed. But it was helpful today too that you brought up like not leaning into acceptance, and realizing as people were talking today, like, yeah, I'm afraid to feel it because I'm afraid I'll be it. I'll become like worst nightmare or something like that. But but the way you said it later was like, it's leaning into the feeling and being curious and dumb about it. It's not about, really going into a scary place, say, but it's like, oh, what is this feeling? Like without having all the attachments to this is bad, this is going to happen, if I feel this. So I just want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great distinction. Yes. It's like, what is this? That's a great kind of attitude in a sense. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And also, I guess I was kind of surprised at the desire stuff. But I remember once I had a desire, I was going to say, I want to be connected to myself. And then I realized, no, I don't, because I don't want to feel this. So, I always thought like that was a good desire to be connected to myself, but then it was like, not always, Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing. Lorraine.
Hello, good.
Hi.
Thank you very much for this and for communicating something that's so simple yet so difficult to articulate and get across to people. I think it's amazing. My question turns to what this looks like for children. So as an adult, I've been trying it on calls as well and seeing big benefits in just bringing curiosity to feelings that come up. But it seems to me that with children, we naturally try to protect them from everything. So when they're feeling sad, we aim to take that sadness away, or anger or distraction often comes in, or many different things that we try to do with them. So my question is around that of, it feels like we're undoing things that maybe we could have already been doing from when we were children, but that feels a lot more. Yeah, I've got a lot of questions around that, of how that would look like with children when they're having these emotions.
So you mean like how we can be with children when they're feeling big emotions?
Yeah, and how, if this is such a powerful thing for us to now be learning as adults, how can we bring it so much closer to them, and for them to be more able to be in touch with these feelings rather than go and grab the teddy bear or have some sweets and put something on to try and ignore that, that my friend just was cruel to me or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think you're totally right that it's the adults who have the discomfort with feeling much more than the children. And then we go try to pacify the children and we innocently teach them that feelings are scary. So 100%. But what we can all do as adults is just keep seeing that feelings aren't scary. And as we lean into stuff more and more, we just will very naturally try to pacify our children less and less. We'll just say, hey, cry. It's okay. You can feel that. You can feel afraid, rather than rushing in and trying to make everything okay so they don't feel afraid. I think that's one of the most important things that we can teach children is to just feel what's arising and that it's not scary. But it's also nearly impossible to teach that when we're afraid of feeling. So it has to start with us. They already have it. They're already naturally not that afraid. And so we teach them to be afraid, so it kind of starts with us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just in the interest of time, I am skipping around a little bit, by the way, on the questions. Let me go to Kareen.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
I'm trying to work out how to do my video thing. Right. So thank you so much for these classes. They've been absolutely brilliant. I've so enjoyed them. Oh, there. Right. Sorry, I've got a dog who jumps on me. Okay. So yes, I really, really appreciated them. And I've been listening to your podcasts and watching your videos for years without connecting. So This is quite a thrill for me to,
Well, it's good to meet you.
to chat to you and you. Thank you. So last night I had quite a, so this is my question. Last night I was in quite a dark place. And I can illustrate that by, I thought there's only 3 solutions here. I either have to escape from my life somehow, you know, get a plane to the other side of the world, or be put into some kind of mental institution, or die. Those are the only solutions to the problems in my life at the moment.
Mhm.
And so I've been with this understanding with the 3 Ps 4 or 5 years, and it's been transformational because I had anxiety all my life, and I don't now. So I absolutely see the value in this. And so when I was going through this last night, I kept saying to myself, well, this will change. This isn't going to last forever. You'll probably wake up tomorrow and it'll be fine. But while I was in that state, I was fighting that, resisting it. No, it won't get better. This is it forever. My life's, you know, rubbish, and it will get even worse. And then I woke up this morning fine, and I've had a really happy day. So my question is, when I'm in the middle of that thought storm, which can sometimes go on for hours, like my eyes were puffy last night from loads of crying. I guess my question is, how do I convince myself that it's going to pass? But I think I know the answer, which is I can't convince myself, but it will pass.
That sounds true. I don't know how you'd convince yourself, and I don't think you have to convince yourself. Even the feeling of this won't pass is a safe feeling, and it's going to pass. It might not be your favorite feeling, but see, I think it's we don't need to like find a way to be okay with like the hardest of times. You know, like you said last night, you saw 3 options, you know, and you probably knew it even in the moment. I am not seeing clearly. When there's 3 options and there are 3 crappy options, you're not seeing clearly. So, you know, the best we can do there is sometimes is just say, hey, this is just heavy and things look horrible. And then that's it. But you know, they will pass, and look at the difference from today to yesterday. And just that awareness and just that leaning in when we can, even if you couldn't last night, leaning into what shows up today and tomorrow, it all builds, it all grows. And then even when the really hard times, then it'll occur to you, it'll be more likely to occur to you in those hard times, but you can't force it, you know? No, absolutely not. Because I have my little devil in my head that argues against this too shall pass. Yeah. And just one last thing, so I've picked up from lots of different 3P practitioners sort of particular lines or thoughts that occur to me, appeal to me. So with Mavis Khan, I once saw a video of her saying, we don't have to go out into nature, we are nature. As humans, we are nature. I was like, oh my goodness, that's true. And the thing that you've said that has resonated so much with me and helped me so much over the years is that, so when I was experiencing my debilitating anxiety, I listened to one of your podcasts or a video or something, and you described, say, anxiety in my case as an energy passing through. And I thought, that's exactly what it is. Mind blown. That was amazing insights. So, good. Thank you. Good to talk with you. It's hard to be afraid of energy. You know, it's easy to be afraid of anxiety. It's easy to be afraid of something bad's going to happen. It's very hard to be afraid of energy. when we seek out energy in life, we love energy. We are energy, you know, so I can see how that's helpful. And because energy is an active thing, it's always on the move, so it's not going to hang around. Exactly. That was so helpful. Thank you. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Julie.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
Well, apart from laid up with a fractured femur.
Oh.
Never mind. My question is about, it feels true to me that you need some kind of space and time to actually feel the feeling, particularly for instance, if you're, in interaction with somebody else. I mean, I have quite a lot of fairly tense interactions with my husband where I can't see how I would start to just feel that feeling when everything's quite sort of tense and angry.
Mhm.
Can you give any
Can
pointers
you
on that one?
feel, yeah, can you feel, like say you're heading into an interaction or it's escalating or whatever, can you feel it turn tense?
Yeah.
You can you feel, like maybe you feel just your body turn tense or your mind kind of gets more narrow or you feel that. Feel that.
Yeah.
You notice when that's happening, and all you have to do, you don't have to do anything, but even just feeling that, like, oh, thank you, my mind's coming in to shut, to say I'm right and he's wrong and all this is happening. Like, you just can kind of even notice that. That's going to just turn you to being aware of what's happening. And then in all kinds of other ways, it's kind of just builds that muscle.
Okay. How can you be present to that and the interaction at the same time?
I don't think you have to worry about that. You just notice what you notice. Yeah. You don't have to be present to the interaction, and you don't have to be fully present to the feeling. We're just kind of having like that wide vision where we're just curious about what's arising. So if I'm just like, hey, I don't know, I'm new here. I'm just swimming through life. Like, oh, wow, look at that look on his face. Ooh, look at how my stomach just got tight. Oh, look at that memory that came up. Look at this judgment. It's kind of like that. You're just noticing what's arising. Cool. Yeah. Keep practicing that. It'll get easier. Awesome. Thanks. Desiree.
Thank you, Amy. I have two thoughts. This reminds me a lot of like doing a meditation or a body scan, where you like go through different parts of your body and you're just noticing what's happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? I don't know. I guess I know asking what's true or not is already a whole big thing in this whole course.
Is it true that it's similar to that?
Yeah.
It might be. That makes sense. I mean, I think a body scan is just a tool we use sometimes.
Yes,
it's a way of doing what we're talking about. Yeah,
you're right. It is a tool. And then I had a very interesting experience because I wasn't able to come on yesterday because I had a doctor's appointment. But so I come on today and I hear you talking in the beginning, and I notice I'm getting really angry. I'm frustrated. And I'm like, oh my God, there's all of this talk about feeling and not feeling. Can't we do an exercise like a body scan or something? But not all of this in my head. I'm being so honest here. I was like, this is all convoluted talk. And the next thought, which was like, I really want to go and eat this particular candy bar. And I just had eaten lunch. And I had decided I wasn't going to do that today. So I decided not to do this. And I also stayed with this whole thing, listening to more people, what you said. And then I realized like 20 minutes later, I really don't want that candy bar. I have no desire at all. It was like as if my mind also opened up to whatever was being said, because I'm not angry anymore. I see more of the purpose of the whole thing. And yeah, I think I just went through what you're talking about. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. And look, you didn't even do anything really. It's not like you said, oh, I'm going to feel this anger. It just kind of came to your awareness. You saw the candy bar thought, you felt all this, you just hung out in it. You didn't rush away and slam the computer shut. You just hung out in it, and then it changed.
You're right. I totally didn't do anything about it, and it did change. So oh my God, I am very grateful, because that was a very good experience. And the last question I have, I know there's other people who are dying to ask you questions, so I will get off very quick. I have signed up for that other course, which starts in February, the 6-week course.
Yeah.
Will that go deeper and deeper into all of this stuff we're talking about?
Totally. It will be this on steroids. We will go into this a lot. Yeah.
All right, good then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Shivran, I think I said your name wrong. Yeah, I probably am saying it wrong today too. So I apologize.
Hi,
Hi,
my name is like Shibran Gas Station.
Shivran. Okay. Okay.
Great,
Thanks.
but you did
Mhm.
great.
Mhm.
I have only 2, 3 small questions. I think Desiree started the conversation. I wanted to ask you, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of words that I'm going to make them my mantras. But I was wondering, do you have any routines that you can have a appointment with self to work on it? Like, people do meditation. Is there any routines we can say, okay, 10 minutes a day, I'll practice this so that when I need it, I know how to do it. Is there
Yeah.
any?
I mean, you can do anything that feels good to you. To me, I'm not a very like fan of rules and routines, but I do regularly sort of just, especially if I feel discomfort, if that registers with me, I've gotten into the habit, I think, of just kind of like what we went through yesterday, of just kind of checking in. And first of all, more than anything, just moving into my body. And so just feeling like, where is it? Where do I feel it physically? And then noticing the thoughts and things that come up. And that can, that can be 30 seconds. It could be 10 minutes. It could be an hour. But I think that might be helpful to just kind of have that on your radar. Like next time you feel some discomfort, just practice that sort of tuning in. And each of us will find our own nuances around it of how it feels right.
Great, thank you. And my next question is, if I want to be a coach, I'm an engineer, but I've done, I'm very open to this. Do you have to be a health coach? Do you have to have some other degrees? Or your coaching helps people to become a good coach?
Yeah, there's no background necessary, really. I mean, people come from, when I train coaches, they come from all kinds of backgrounds, engineering to healthcare. Some are in psychology already, but we really just explore this, like how a mind works, who we are beyond our mind, this oneness. I mean, we look a lot at habits and anxiety and how they're all about this resistance. And you come away with any background, you come away really being able to just sit with a person in this way and walk them through what's showing up. So yeah, no background necessary.
Great. And are you the person who teaches or somebody else?
It's all me. Yep.
Great.
I have other professionals, like my colleagues will come in and do webinars and little trainings, but I lead the training.
Great. I want to thank you so much, and you're a real influence on people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks. Tanya.
Hi, Amy. Thank
Hi.
you. I don't know if I have a question. Just, I'm really getting a sense. Sorry, am I echoing badly?
No, it's okay.
Oh, sounds not great over here.
No.
Okay. I'm getting a sense that, for me anyways, I have been making this so much more complicated than I need to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make light of other people's situations or experiences that can be so painful. But is it just part of the mind's job to make things complicated?
Yes. Yeah. What are you noticing? Like, how is your mind complicating it?
Well, I'm just listening to everyone speak, and like I'm seeing that their minds are complicating things. And yeah, my mind complicates it in asking why, where is this coming from? What's going on? Like, I want to know more about the feeling, the emotions. But like you were saying a little while ago, there's so much going on behind the scenes that we just have no idea. so it really makes no sense for me to try and figure that out, because that's just useless. Like, I may never ever know what this emotion is, where it's coming from.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's huge. I mean, I think that it's one of the things that just takes so much weight off of us. It's like, it is such a mystery. We're only even aware of it's like 50 bits of information to every 11 billion bits of information that we take in, we don't know anything, but our mind talks as if it knows absolutely everything. So I think just to be in that mystery of life can be so freeing, and your mind will never stop talking that way, but you get used to just not listening to it so much.
Right. Yeah. Cause I like details. I like knowing. I like, give me a list of how to 1 to 10, like people want, how do we do this? But I'm getting a sense for how I really do make this whole understanding just more complicated than I need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You're definitely not alone in that.
Yeah. It's really just stepping back and just not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, and look at kids, again, kids just flow through things, and it's not because they know steps.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Okay, Carolyn, then we'll wrap it up for today.
Thanks, Amy. I think I've described myself in the last few minutes as somebody who's in the prior to your step reaching, and I give you hard examples. I had one of those gut kicks 2-3 weeks ago, and I mean, it was from a excuse me, it was from a very long-term 25 or so year friendship, and I just felt so sabotaged, and I sat on the side of the bed and I just sobbed. But there was something that came over me that said, I can't do my typical victim, why me, oh my God reaction. I need to pull back from all of this flood of emotions and realize that I run the risk of giving away this friendship, of losing this friendship, if I can't figure out how to sort out my feelings. I'm probably going to start crying right now. I can just feel it. And shortly after that, I had a couple of more disappointment things from friends, and I tended to just say another gut kick, but they didn't carry the same weight. So I'm still carrying this full package of 3 people that are friends of mine that I don't want to give up. And part of it was, when I say I'm prior to where you are, is that at least in stopping that one time and saying, I am not going to do my typical total flame out. I am not going to be total victim. I started thinking about their side of it. I started thinking about the meaning of the friendships to me.
Yeah.
So it was this broadening the base of what the situation was. And also, I have learned enough to say, there isn't a goddamn time clock on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and when you were saying the closed heart to me as well is resentment.
Yeah.
Again, that why me, that you're doing this to me.
Right.
Bullshit. They're not doing it to me.
Right.
It's something that they needed to do.
Yes.
And I needed to accept So it's broadened what I'm looking at.
That's amazing. That's huge. I love that. It's huge. And that's exactly what happened. I know it doesn't. I know, but oh my gosh. Just by noticing that tendency to go into this big, horrible story, right? And just all you did was just see, I mean, you didn't even do it. It just, there's something in you was like, I'm not going to just fall into this hole. I'm going to stay out here and just stay a little open. And look, before you know it, their side pops up and this pops up and that possibility pops up. That is exactly how it goes. That's what I mean when I say like our world gets bigger when when we don't just, shut down and say, nope, they're wrong and I'm out of here. It's huge.
One of the things that I'm soon being 83. And one of the things that has been a very conscious effort on my part is building these real strong, and they've been there all the time, but I'm really gardening my girlfriend companions. I'm single, and just nurturing these people. And that was a big piece of this, was saying, I don't want to give these up.
Yeah.
And again, that wasn't any part of what happened to me. It was by being able to step back and take some of the emotion out of it. And I think that's always been a thing with me, is that, I pop off. The trigger, and my term is the triggers, are victimhood and deep passion and all that kind of crap. And it was like, how much can I not deny it, but step back from it?
Yeah. When we pop off like that, I mean, it's sort of another way of saying we just like shut down, like we're right. This is how it is. I'm done, and so what you're describing is an opening, is a yes, like, okay, this is here. I'm not denying it, but what else is there? Yes.
There must be another way.
Yes. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Thank you.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your sharing. I think it adds so much. I know that it adds so much for people. So, so again, thank you so much for being here. Really grateful, and just reach out if I can do anything else for you at any time. Okay. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.